Remember that airport reference that I gave earlier? Well, if you haven't checked that out in relation to how yoga and the yamas are applied off the mat, I recommend you check out this video. I'm going to tag it above actually. But in the world of having a yoga practice that you include the first limb, the yamas, into your personal practice and your personal growth journey, you apply Asteya, non-stealing, in more than one way. Yes, that airport reference is definitely something that you can quite obviously think, well, that's the obvious, you don't want to take advantage of being at the airport in that way. But on the contrary, there are other ways that we can apply that as well. That includes gossiping. That also means the moment of someone's joy or victory, you don't want to take away from that as well. Think about defamation of character. That would be applied to taking away the validity of a person's character, and they don't have the means to speak up for themselves. So you have to think about how careful you speak as well as present yourself to others individuals, because sometimes our actions still say a lot about ourselves. So how do you apply this in your personal growth journey? Asteya, in reference to non-stealing, can resort to the way we go about taking away from others. Again, specifying where you don't steal someone's shine, you don't covet over what somebody has, you aren't stealing somebody's energy, essentially. If you speak in a certain language, if you know, you know. But in a reference of taking away someone's energy, you would include time, you would include efforts, you would think about their character. You have to be mindful about how you present yourself outwardly, and especially amongst others, in the nature of being present. When you have conversations with individuals and you resort to gossiping, you're taking away from that person's character and they don't have the ability to speak up for themselves. Sometimes you speak in truth, but you be mindful about how your conversation is going. Is it conducting in a way that is leading more toward a negative space, where you are speaking in terms and expressing your feelings and venting, or are you just talking badly to talk badly about an individual? Something to think about, something to reflect within. Also, it takes away from our energy as well. The more you operate from a low vibrational mindset, a low vibrational space, that energy is pulling, it's dragging. That mindset, your heart, the way you think, negative thoughts and actions constantly pull you down, and when you're weighed down, you stay down. Instead, uplift your mindset to wanting to be out of that way of being, out of that mindset. So you can also consider actual non-stealing. We think about the typical ways of us physically stealing things away from people, the things that we desire that we don't have. You're taking away from people who you don't feel rightfully deserve what they have. That does not mean that you have the right to take that away from that individual. How about this? Let's go from an subconscious mindset. When we talk to our friends and when we vent, how considerate are we when we constantly talk to them about the same situation? We're ruminating, we're venting in a sense, but how much of that vent is working toward processing what's happening, whether it's grief, whether it's resentment, whether it's fear, whether it's rejection, you know, all of those things. And we constantly ask for advice from that friend. How often are we doing the internal work to move forward or move ahead? Because we're stealing away their time, we're stealing away their energy. If you constantly use them as a resource to just stay stuck, that's the difference. So how do you effectively communicate in a way where you're not taking away? You could say, hey, do you have time for this? Hey, do you have space for me to vent and you just hear what I'm saying? Hey, Do you have a moment for me to share something with you that I know I'm still working through, and maybe you can give me the advice in order for me to move forward? Because there are times where sometimes we tend to constantly complain or constantly stay in a low vibrational mindset. And I constantly emphasize that because it is low vibrational. If you find yourself in a heavy mindset, it's considered low vibrational. Sometimes that's okay. But if you put yourself in a position to move forward, move ahead, you are working in a pathway of growth and process. And sometimes that's not pleasant. But the way you can resort back and find gratitude in that situation is that you're moving forward to better yourself. So when we apply Asteya off the mat, we choose to say, I'm moving in a space that does not take from others. I am moving in a space that does not take away from who I am. I hope this video helped you in some way. It's more of a video to not only hold ourselves accountable, but help us to continuously grow in our personal growth journey so that we can be the version that we know we're true to be. So if you're ready for the next Yama, can you guess what it is? Find me over here.